Do you ever just lose it? Yell, scream, cry, flip your lid? Today's question involves how we can handle these big emotions. I'm psychotherapist Shavaun Scott, and on this channel, I respond to viewer questions on everything related to psychology, relationships, and mental health. If you enjoy this video, please like it and feel free to subscribe to my channel. Whether you describe them as overly emotional, dramatic, having an anger problem, or being too sensitive, living with a partner or family member whose emotions easily ramp up and down can be exhausting. Now, we all experience out of control emotions at times. For some of us, it's only occasionally when we're under stress, but we all know someone who exhibits intense and unpredictable mood swings and emotional volatility on a daily basis. People around them may walk on eggshells, never knowing what to expect. It's exhausting. Now, these intense outbursts or emotional shutdowns can lead to a lifetime of struggles in school, work, and they can ruin our relationships. They lead to fights with strangers, road rage, getting fired from jobs, and they get a lot of people locked up in jail. The term for such out of control, intense emotional volatility is emotional dysregulation. And this is often a source of shame for people who experience it, but they just don't know any other way to be. Now, I'm speaking today about adults because it's normal for young children to experience emotional dysregulation. Kids have temper tantrums and they melt down into tears when they don't get their way. They may pout when angry and refuse to talk. This is normal. Missing a meal or a nap can be a disaster. A major part of good parenting is teaching kids how to understand and regulate their nervous systems. But this is impossible for parents to do when they don't have that awareness or skill themselves. Most of the time, kids grow up modeling what they see and experience in their families. To make it more complicated, we all have neurobiological differences, and some of those differences can make it even harder to learn to understand and regulate our emotions. For example, people who have anxiety, depression, bipolar disorder, ADHD, autism spectrum disorder, PTSD, or a history of trauma typically have greater challenges in this area. Because the nervous system is what we're really talking about, and there's biology behind this process. Let me share a simple analogy I use in my work. Imagine that you're holding a tall glass of water, and this glass represents your nervous system, which contains your emotions, the water. You want water in that glass, but if there's too much and it's all stirred up, it'll overflow and spill out. Now imagine that every time there's a stressor in your life, an Alka-Seltzer tablet is tossed into the glass. Every tablet causes a fizzing reaction, and the glass has no problems containing 1, 2, or 3 tablets. But let's toss 10 Alka-Seltzer tablets into the glass and see what happens. It fizzes up into the air, it spews, and this is how emotional energy explodes through a person's nervous system and erupts as anxiety, anger, tearfulness, or for some people, a total emotional shutdown and disengagement. When a person is experiencing dysregulation like this, their body reacts, and it happens instantaneously. The heart rate increases, blood pressure goes up. Some people get a headache, others get gut pain and diarrhea, and it's bidirectional. The more the body reacts, the more emotionally upset the person feels. And dysregulated people treat other people badly. They say or do things they would never say or do when they're calm. This is because a dysregulated nervous system knocks the prefrontal cortex, or the thinking part of the brain, offline. And upset, agitated people can't think straight. They're not good at problem solving. And this is how many people end up in jail or divorced. Now, here's the kicker. By nature, or some combination of genetics and environment, some people are living with a shot glass-sized nervous system. It only takes 1 Alka-Seltzer tablet, 1 stressor, and they're already dysregulated. Now, when people live with chronic stressors from health conditions like chronic pain or a lack of mobility, a lack of financial resource, or a toxic work environment, this also reduces the capacity of their nervous systems. They really don't have a lot of room for stress. And what do people do? Often they make the problem worse with ineffective coping strategies they've seen their parents use. Trying to calm the nervous system with alcohol or other substances is one of the most common non-productive coping strategies, which leads to a host of additional problems and does nothing to reduce the amount of Alka-Seltzer that's in the glass. Alcohol increases impulsivity, which is never good when a person is upset. And also, it intensifies pre-existing problems with depression and anxiety. Ineffective coping strategies can lead to unrelenting cycles of crisis. Each one leads to another. Now, some people shut down, go silent, and disengage, the equivalent of going to bed and pulling the covers over their head. While going to bed isn't a terrible coping strategy, occasionally, if we persistently disengage from our loved ones and go into denial about what's wrong, we only add another layer of problems because we stay disconnected from ourselves as well as those who care about us. So what do we do about dysregulation? We want to come at the problem from two angles. First, getting some of that Alka-Seltzer out of the glass with problem solving, looking for resources, and asking for help before we get dysregulated. And we also need to increase the size of the glass or increase our capacity to handle stress with self-soothing and mindfulness techniques. Now, this is harder than it sounds, and it's often where mental health clinicians step in and assist with the process through talk therapy. And there are also a variety of medications that doctors or mental health nurse practitioners can prescribe that are helpful for many people. Becoming more regulated takes time and a plan. We start with becoming more aware of our patterns of dysregulation and learn to monitor and be mindful of our emotions and levels of stress. Many people go through their days never paying conscious attention to their internal experiences. They're not really aware of what they're feeling from moment to moment, and then they miss signs that they're becoming excessively stressed. Improving our awareness of the need to manage our stress before it results in blowups and meltdowns is critical. We need to learn the signs that show up in our bodies. This is a physiological process. We may have clenched jaws or fists. We may flush, break out in rashes, have a pounding heart, or rapid shallow breathing. But we've all got signs when our bodies are trying to tell us we're getting too stressed. Many people have never learned a vocabulary of emotions. They don't know how to identify what they feel with words. We integrate this ability naturally from growing up in a home environment where people identified and talked about their feelings. But those who missed out on it as kids have to learn it as adults. I often ask my clients to keep a daily journal and write about their feelings. It helps with that skill. And I notice now that many people use social media in this way, which may or may not be working out for them, depending on who their readers are. But in some cases, with the right support system, online support groups can be very helpful. So this brings us to self-soothing. If we find ourselves in a situation and notice the signs of dysregulation beginning, we need to have a list of things we can do that will help us calm down. It may mean leaving the immediate area for a bit, taking a walk, giving ourselves a little bit of a time out, finding a quiet room where we can do some slow, deep breathing and relax. If we're driving, maybe pulling over and getting something to eat or drink, but we need a break from whatever the stressor has been. If it's an option, having a support person to talk to about what we're feeling can help. Now, having a basic self-care regimen is part of the foundation of self-regulation. Sleeping and eating regularly, engaging in activities that give us a sense of joy, getting some form of movement, stretching, or exercise, and spending time with supportive people are some of the basics that increase the size of our glass. Practicing some kind of mindfulness meditation is very helpful, and I'll be posting some more videos with additional detailed strategies. But I want to say that I realize that for many people, these things seem impossible. If you're living with a toxic job, you're a single parent, low income with kids and no support network, it's extra hard. But for now, let me close with this thought. As adults, we have a responsibility to learn to regulate our nervous systems. It's exhausting to live on a roller coaster, and it's traumatic for those who love us. No one should have to live in fear of doing something that sets off a parent, a partner, or a friend. And while in a functional relationship, partners support and help regulate each other emotionally, no good ever comes from having two dysregulated people in the same room. We want to see families support each other. So if you're struggling with this, don't be ashamed to reach out for help. It's out there.